What makes a legend? What mix of courage, inspiration, and inner strength propels an ordinary individual to make history, to stand out from the rest of the populace, shape the world around them, become heroes or villains? I am Funky Monkey. Come with me now as we leave the House of Love behind and enter a new realm, the House of Legends.
Well, hey there, Internet, and welcome to my House of Legends. But what is not so legendary is the fate of defeated and imprisoned supervillains. Now, we've already explored the idea of a suicide squad in my House of Love, but today's legend returns to the misfortunes of Task Force X, now with a radically different lineup.
Released in 2021, The Suicide Squad is effectively a reboot of the concept, as an all-new team of coerced convicts are deployed to a South American nation to destroy a World War II-era secret bunker. But that bunker hides a terrible secret, which one of the squad is under orders to protect. Directed by James Gunn, who elevated the Guardians of the Galaxy to near A-list status, this movie was highly rated by critics and audiences alike on Rotten Tomatoes.
So come with me now to the Isle of Corto Maltese, where we meet the latest batch of reprobates forced to do or die in the name of Task Force X, the Suicide Squad.
We're immediately introduced to Savant, who serves as our reintroduction to the concept of Task Force X. Belle Rev Prison houses some of the toughest and nastiest assassins, supervillains, and ne'er-do-wells of the DC Earth, which makes them perfect fodder for Intelligence Supremo Amanda Waller to send out on Black Ops missions for the US government. And to keep them in line, they have a tiny but powerful explosive injected into their neck, and if they disobey, boom! There is, however, a carrot on this stick, in that they get 10 years off their sentence for a completed mission. But that's easier said than done. After all, there's a reason why Task Force X is nicknamed Suicide Squad. Our protagonists are being deployed to Corto Maltese, in the general vicinity of South America. The ruling family of the island have just been usurped by the military, and a tactical asset is in danger of falling into enemy hands. But Blackguard sold them out, for all the good it does him. Which doesn't faze a tough, organised Black Ops team of supervillains. Sadly, this team aren't all that organised. Which is great news for our real protagonists. But even this team have their personal issues. Still, they manage to work through to rescue Rick Flag. Which is kind of embarrassing when it turns out that Flag didn't really need rescuing. Luckily, the rebel leader is focused on the bigger picture. We're introduced to the Thinker and Project Starfish. NASA astronauts discovered a starfish-shaped alien just floating in space. Thinking nothing of it, they brought in this extraterrestrial, which was their first mistake as it took control of their minds. And Harley gets a glow up to meet the new president. Which seems to go well enough. Oddly, Harley Quinn is a hero to the Corto Maltesians, in a manner akin to Norman Wisdom for the Albanians.
No, I'm not kidding. Look it up. I'm serious. Norman Wisdom was a really big thing in Albania. back in maybe the 60s to the 80s, definitely during the Soviet era. He used to play his movies on Albanian TV on the weekends. You know, Pit Keeney, as he was known, became sort of a really big folk hero. Seriously, look it up.
Until absolute power reveals and Harley reacts.
Bravo, Harley. It takes no small amount of self-reflection to be able to break the cycle.
The rest of the squad meet up with the rebel contact and ride into town. Sit a while and hear the sad tale of the man that first took the title of rat catcher. For you see, the first rat catcher was technologically adept enough to build the wand that controlled rats. Sadly, he was also an addict, which sapped all the money he had and would send him to his ending from an overdose. It was from this that his daughter took up the wand, and the name, for all the good it did her, as she was soon locked up for some imagined reason or other. But I'll spare you the rant. And soon enough, the Thinker shows up, and the mission is on. But before the main mission on Jotunheim, there's still the little matter of Harley Quinn, who's hatching her own escape.
What are you guys doing?
And so to Jotunheim. And in the bowels of the lab, we discover Starro and its victims. The creature, derisively nicknamed Starro by the Thinker, was brought to Jotunheim, a former Nazi stronghold, by the US government, where dissidents of the previous administration were used as fodder for illegal and unethical experiments with Starro's extensions.
Well, it's a movie about assassins and supervillains carrying out Black Ops missions for the US government. It's not exactly going to be family fare.
Which was the very thing Peacemaker was recruited to cover up. And one wrong move blows the whole thing. Which frees Starro. Peacemaker and Flag battle for the drive. To the death.
Esteemed audience, one and all, a moment for Colonel Rick Flag.
Ratcatcher absconds with the drive, which would go about as well as you'd expect, but for the timely intervention of Bloodsport. But oh dear, Starro the Conqueror is free. Not that Waller cares. Lucky for everyone then, that her subordinates do. But the big one's too big for King Shark, and there are too many for Bloodsport to take out, so it falls to Ratcatcher to save the day. And Harley to let the rats in. But what about the drive? Well, Bloodsport uploaded its contents to a private server, and negotiates the surviving squad's freedom for their silence, which is about as much of a happy ending as one could expect.
So that was the Suicide Squad. Quite possibly the single goriest movie I've ever featured. But I'm still going to put it into my House of Legends.
The measure of a good movie is more than just whether or not it's family friendly. Sure, there's plenty of schlocky movies that cover a weak plot in blood, or boobs, or strong language, but if Hot Fuzz could revel in its audacity and still find a place in the House of Love, then this movie can take pride of place in the House of Legends. And how do we even begin to talk about performances when so many of the stunt castings are wiped out before the opening titles have even rolled? So we shout out Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion, Flula Borg, Jai Courtney, and even Mei Ling Ng, who must have endured many hours in makeup for what is pretty much an extended cameo. And while I could criticise Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag for not having evolved from the previous incarnation, at least, whether by prosthetic or natural means, his physicality more matches the comics. Of course, it goes without saying that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is flawless in both voice and body, finally emerging from the shadow of the clown prince of chaos to become a mistress of mayhem on her own terms. And Idris Elba turns in a characteristically almost unflappable performance as the reluctant leader Bloodsport. We also have to mention WWE's John Cena in the role of Peacemaker, a character so good that he got his own show. And then there's Daniela Melchior's Ratcatcher II, David Dasmalkian's Polka Dot Man, Although the more swivel-eyed take on Amanda Waller does no service to Viola Davis, not forgetting of course Peter Capaldi's thinker, much more Malcolm Tucker than the curmudgeonly yet lovable Doctor. And there are moments where I find the cusses laid on a little too thick, and the gore a little too extreme. But then, this only serves to illustrate that this movie ain't for kids. It's a big, dumb action movie about Black Ops supervillains fighting a giant alien starfish on a South American island. And you better believe that it goes there. And while the subplot about the US government's complicity in Project Starfish is brought up pretty late, it does add an extra layer of drama. And all the sex, violence and bad language in the world would be as useful as lipstick on a pig of a film, but director James Gunn knows how to take deeply flawed people and make us love them. And this movie is fun! It revels in its audacity and it takes its story entirely seriously. Harley's monologue about being able to spot red flags is spot on. It's gory, sweary, and features a giant starfish which squirts out smaller versions of itself that stick on your face, but the Suicide Squad is also a ballsy and shameless action-adventure in the darker corners of the DC Earth. And it is definitely, to quote a former compadre, one hell of a ride.
Thanks for watching. I've been Funky Monkey, inviting you to start your own legend and see where it leads. So long, folks!
Hey folks, Funky again. If you liked the video, you know where that button is. Or why not consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell? And if you want to be extra awesome, you can check out my crowdfunding links. And if you're not fussed about any of it, that's okay too. So long!